The Barbie movie is here, and just as we predicted on this channel weeks and months ago, it is the sleeper hit of the summer. You say, well, Pro, come on, everybody knew it was going to be a hit. Yeah, but not like this. But there is a backlash now. We're trying to measure how big the backlash is. We're also trying to measure what the phenomenon looks like. And not only that, but we're also, at the same time, watching in real time as this movie makes us all ponder, is Go Woke, Go Broke dead? Let's find out from Barbie. All right, folks, welcome back to another wonderful video here on the WDW Pro channel. It's wonderful because you are here with us. We're so glad to have you, and if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Joining me to talk about the Barbie movie and what is happening across culture is the one and only, the lovely Arwen Avalon. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's good to be back. Barbie.
Well, here we go, and we have lots to say about this. So does this article out of The Hollywood Reporter by James Hibbard. Elon Musk mocks Barbie as hit movie gets conservative backlash. That's right, the richest man in the world is weighing in on the little Dolly movie. And here's what we've got to say about it. While the Margot Robbie starer smashes box office records, conservative ideologues, I tell you, accuse the film of being left-wing propaganda. All right, well, back to the culture war we go. Introducing Culture War Barbie. Elon Musk has entered the Barbie chat by mocking the summer's biggest box office hit on Twitter, or X, whatever he's calling it this week. The billionaire wrote, if you take a shot every time Barbie says the word patriarchy, you will pass out before the movie ends. Musk was responding to a Barbenheimer meme that compared Twitter to Barbie and his new X name for his social network to Oppenheimer. He's the latest to accuse Barbie, from filmmaker Greta Gerwig and starring Margot Robbie, of being left-wing propaganda in the wake of the movie earning the biggest opening weekend of the year, racking up $162 million domestically. Barbie follows stereotypical Barbie and Ken as they leave Barbie land and journey into the real world following an existential crisis. Arwen, I go to you now. Is Barbie actually left-wing propaganda? You've seen the film. Is it anti-male? Is it all about smashing the patriarchy? Or are the conservatives missing it?
No, look, okay, I really don't care on what side of the political aisle somebody falls. You cannot watch this movie and not be like, there's definitely a very strong no man message in it. Now, that said, whether you take that as empowering, yay, sticking it to the patriarchy, and you're not political, or whether you take that as, yes, it's definitely anti-man, it's saying, you know, men are this, men are that, we don't need men, blah, blah, blah. However you filter that within your own, you know, personal biases and your own personal expression, there is no denying that this movie has a thing or two to say about men. And I'm sorry, it's not all good.
So the test that I give it, Arwen,
specific.
The test that I apply to movies such as this is I determine, is there a positive person in the movie that's part of whatever class is claiming that it's being denigrated. So in this case, the idea here is that this movie is anti-male. So let's go to you now. You've seen the film. Is there a single positive male figure in any part of the movie?
There are a couple of male characters that are maybe sympathetic, like Alan. Alan is, but
that's
if
the
you
best
look,
you can pull out is, well, there's some sympathetic characters. You feel sorry for them.
You do. You feel sorry for him because, you know, oh, yay, poor Al. Look at Alan. You know,
he's not bad. He's just pathetic.
He is. He's pathetic. And then you have the dad who's at least trying to learn Spanish, but then he gets cut down by his daughter for cultural appropriation. So the men can't win in this film. They can't. They are either boorish, caricature, and I'm talking about the real world men, the Barbie men you expect, the Barbie world men, the Kens, you expect to be, you know, kind of over the top, and you expect that because it's Barbie world. But then you got the men in the real world. They're either, you know, boorish, they're either caricature, they're either stupid, they're either clue. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it's like, can we get one man in this film where you can point and look at and go, yeah, that's an average, decent guy? I don't
Right, and
see
then
it.
you also have to wonder, Arwen, how much money was left on the table by not doing a message, at least somewhere in the movie, that
Mhm.
hey, boys and girls can get along, and boys and girls are good. That maybe that would have been a better approach. Although, let's
Yeah.
say this: it's hard to critique at this point. I mean, we'll do our best to tell the truth, but it's hard to critique at this point simply because this film has the biggest box office opening of the year. It beat Super Mario Brothers, although, folks, it is not going to beat Super Mario Brothers in the long run. There's no way it won't even come close. But for the first weekend, it did. And so,
Mhm.
Arwen, my question to you is, if we then say that because it's anti-male and it's anti-patriarchy and it's yada, 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 if it is woke, right, then
Mhm.
is go woke, go broke dead? Does this movie prove that there's a way to go woke and make big time money?
Oh, it definitely does, and a lot of it, I would say it's actually quite brilliant the way that they have packaged this movie and the way that they have marketed it. And it's not just that the trailer is different from the film, which it is. I went into expecting one thing, and I got something completely different. But it makes it palatable. And there's nothing wrong with a little tongue-in-cheek, a chick flick with some tongue-in-cheek digs towards men, or even, a male movie with the little tongue-in-cheek digs towards women. Nothing wrong with that. We've
Does this
all
go
done
farther,
that.
Arwen? Does
Yeah.
this go farther than How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? Does it go farther than Legally
Oh, yeah.
Blonde? Okay, so
Oh,
way
yeah.
farther.
Yeah, because those movies were done, there were certain characters with it, male characters in that were, you kind of went, "Oh, you're a jerk," or "You're this." It wasn't the overarching
Right.
theme of the
All men are
film.
jerks in Barbie,
That
apparently.
all men are, right. But they took this movie, they brilliantly packaged the nostalgia, they brilliantly packaged the pink and the sparkles and the fun and the yay space. I so loved that part. I was like, "Yep, that's me. Yay space. We got it." They
Well,
packaged it in that way to make it more palatable, to make it more acceptable, to have people say, "What are you talking about? It's just fun, tongue in cheek." No, it's not. And that's the point. That is the
well,
point.
the
And
the
you're able to do
interesting thing
that. It's
about
brilliant.
this, they marketed this completely differently than the Disney films, right? So we're watching a Snow White is out there right now.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Rachel Ziegler out there talking about how Snow White is terribly outdated and they're going to fix it. She's a genius 22-year-old who has all of the world figured out. But
Oh.
so they've already started the annihilation of Snow White. Whereas with this film and the way they marketed it, they were reverential to the iconography and the symbolisms of Barbie, right? So everybody looked at it and
Mhm.
said, "Oh, that looks like Barbie, and it looks like fun." And there was none of this smash the patriarchy in any of the trailers. And
Right.
so now it's out, but this is the interesting thing. So according to sources that we have, the folks at Mattel, they were all on board with this. They were fully on board, hand in hand with the development of this movie. They knew exactly what they were getting. And then at some point, probably when there was an alcoholic beverage company under fire, probably when there was a big box retailer that had a target on its back, the folks at Mattel got a little scared, maybe a lot scared, and were nervous that, hey, this box office, even if it does well, we could suffer long term with our brand if Barbie is seen as part of whatever this movement is. And
Mhm.
so the tricky thing, though, is that this movie came out, it did exceedingly well at the box office. And so what we've been watching is, how is it going to look on the Monday and Tuesday? Because we were watching to see, what kind of drop off it would have. Well, guess what? It got over $24 million on a Monday. That's phenomenal. It's the end of
Mhm.
summer. That's it. And so now, being the arbiter of truth that I try to be, right? I'm not over here trying to spin the narrative or tell people, oh, this is a failure, it's a flop, it's boycotted and it's working. No, no, this right now that has not materialized. Right now, this thing is red hot or pink hot, and yeah, and so this whole idea that there's a boycott culture or a backlash inside the culture that's taking out these ultra woke properties. So far, Barbie is impervious. Arwen, why
Mhm.
do you think that Barbie is escaping the? I'm not saying it's escaping the ire or the skepticism or the criticism, but it's escaping the practical effects, right? The
Mhm.
actual real world money impacts that we saw with the alcoholic beverage company, Target, and others. Why is it escaping that?
Well, because well, one is I've heard people talk about well, why was it released now? Summer, it's the graveyard scene. I think they were going for a sleeper. And just as an average moviegoer, when I see a movie and I hear it's a sleeper and I watch it and I like it, not the case with Barbie, but in general, and I like it, sleepers tend to have a bigger reputation than movies you already expect to be blockbusters. It makes them more attractive. It makes them more appealing. So they were smart when they released this. There was no way this was an accident. They knew it was going to have that sleeper status. They knew it was going to, you know, do well in that regard because it just had that reputation. It has that reputation. Sleepers in general have that reputation. But as far as, I'm not surprised it did well, actually. I'm not surprised.
We're not either. We've been predicting it with Pauly of Latino Slant weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah, not surprised one bit. And again, it goes back to the way that they packaged it. There is such a history and a nostalgia attracted to Barbie that cannot be escaped. I mean, Barbie is literally the fabric of some of our lives that has been there forever. You know, it's woven into the tapestry. So they were planning on that. And the way that they did it, though, if you notice, Barbie never really comes out and goes all fourth wave blue hair feminist on them. She's always very sweet. She's always very kind of that clueless. Oh, it's Ken. Okay. Even though the message is there, it's all wrapped up in this Barbie world. And again, with the pink and the sparkles and the nostalgia and the way that they do it and the association with Ken versus Barbie. We were all about Barbie. Yeah, Ken was there and we loved our Ken, but he was there because of Barbie. It's not like Ken came first and we went for Ken and then there was Barbie. So yeah. And people are
now, Arwen, have you heard
go ahead.
Have you heard the thoughts from Greta Gerwig about how with the Barbie movie she wanted to create an what would you say? She wanted to create an opposite version of the Garden of Eden story, and instead of the man being brought forth first and then realizing that he needs a helpmate or a companion, that instead it was the reverse in the Barbie world. And so Barbie is first and Ken is second. And so that's what she was aiming for.
Well, I didn't see where Ken was becoming no helpmeet to her, to Barbie.
Well,
there was no helpmeet. There was no companion.
He's the snake in the garden. That's what he is.
Exactly. So epic fail if that's what you
that's true. Thank you, Arwen. I had not put that together yet.
It just doesn't work.
There is no companion. There's just the snake.
No, just the snake. That's it. So
I love it. All right, well, let's take a look at more of this article that we've got and see what's going on inside our culture as it relates to entertainment. Mattel execs have tried to keep the film from being viewed as political. By the way, we think that's part of what we talked about from our sources that said, hey, the Mattel execs are kind of freaked out right now. This could do well at the box office, but they're worried it could do long-term brand damage. Robbie Brenner, Mattel Films executive producer, said the film was not a feminist movie. In an interview with Time, Robbie seemed surprised by that claim. So are audience viewers apparently now. Who said that, she reportedly asked. It's not that it is or it isn't. It's a movie. It's a movie that's got so much in it. Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro went viral over the weekend after breathlessly ripping the film for 43 minutes on YouTube in a clip that's been viewed 1.6 million times. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women, he fumed. He predicted Barbie is absolutely going to fall off a cliff. Repeat business is going to be non-existent. Shapiro also set fire to Barbie dolls on a barbecue in protest. His review generated plenty of online mocking of its own. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so we get it. Ben Shapiro's on the right. We get it. The folks writing this article probably on the left. And Barbie is definitely on the left, this movie. But I want to go back to you, Arwen. This film, right? So it's already made money. It's already a success in terms of just the money side of it. Now, long-term brand damage, we'll see. There may not be any brand damage. That's what we're watching. This is sort of unprecedented because, as you said, this film is feminist in a way that we have never seen a mainline film be, right? This is not Clueless. This is not Legally Blonde. This goes way, way farther. There's not a man who is a jerk. It's all men are jerks. And so, Arwen, what we're watching to see is, can this film be sustained long term? So with the Super Mario Brothers movie, you know, it legged out massively. With Top Gun Maverick, same thing. It legged out massively. But Barbie is going to have to depend almost entirely on the 35 and under female demographic. And I say that because we now have the stats. And over the weekend, 80% of people who went to go see Barbie were 35 and under. That is unheard of. Mm-hmm. And the female swing for this was something like 63 to 67%. Okay, well, now that's up there with Little Mermaid. So that's really, really female in terms of the audience. But now that audiences know that this is largely anti-male, almost to the point of misandry and perhaps crossing that line, you would think that it's going to have to swing even farther into that. So maybe even 70% plus female. And that means that this has to be within a very narrow demographic of 35 under women. Can they sustain this thing? Mattel wants it to hit 850. I think it would be embarrassing based on this start if it doesn't hit 750, but I don't know where it lands. So Arwen, can women and will women go see this vociferously and prop up the box office for it as a result?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think so. I
wow,
mean,
well, that's a big claim.
Because, and of course, this is just, I really don't know a whole lot about the box numbers and how they work, but just again, as a general viewer, the one thing this movie has going for it is it's extremely polarizing. And when anything is polarizing, it's popular. Whether you love it or hate it, it's going to be talked about. It's going to be mentioned. It's going to be, in the forefront.
It's going to be popular.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes. And I think there's some, women are curious creatures anyway. We are. I'll just clue you in on that secret. And if we hear of a movie that's, oh my gosh, the men don't like it, it's man-hating. It's not man-hating. I'm going to go see it to prove it. Go see it. You come out. So, yes, I think it has piqued people's curiosity. Because unlike a certain beer ad, that was all in your face. You didn't have to pay to see it. This you got to pay to see. So it's like the curiosity, what's happening behind the curtain? What's the hubbub about? I'm going to go check it out. And let's face it, some women just, might love a movie. Oh, it's man bashing. I'm there. Sign me up for my popcorn.
Right,
I don't know, but yeah, I think it's
so. Here's the thing that I think is really important about Barbie. And this is what we need to watch carefully because we don't want to be wrong. And so the way to be not wrong is to watch things carefully and observe what's happening. And don't assume that you know everything there is to know about something until you really, really sit down and examine what's happening.
Right.
With Barbie, I'm wondering, go woke, go broke has been the mantra. And it outside of Captain Marvel, that was the one exception, and it was Trojan horsed in. So I don't really consider it to be a success. But outside of Captain Marvel, Go Woke, Go Broke has been absolutely absolute. It has fully explained what happens, and we have seen Hollywood try over and over again to make woke material, and it just doesn't do well. This is the first time that we're seeing the opposite, and if it's sustained, and it will have to be sustained through a very small, narrow demographic. If that narrow demographic can do that, then they are supporting this at an extreme level. And then the question is Go Woke, Go Broke only applicable if you're talking about general audiences? And is the opposite true if you're talking about young women? And if that is true, Arwen, then that would signal that young women, okay, the Gen Zers, the millennials, if the young women support this film at this level, it may indicate that young women are significantly changing in their views versus the rest of the public. And so that would be a larger cultural observation that we could learn through watching this. And no, it's not absolute. And no, it doesn't give us, the hard data that we can come away with and say, oh, well, this is the exact amount that people are moving to the left or the right. But it would be the canary, right? It would be the first signal to say, hey, this is manifesting in a real way. People are voting with their wallets, and young women are significantly different than 40-year-old men or other generations or what have you. We know they're different in lots of ways, but in terms of entertainment choices, this would be a big deal. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I absolutely. And the thing that this movie does so brilliantly is there are some really good emotional moments in this film. It's not one note. It does kind of take you on a journey, and whether you enjoy that journey or not depends on your sensibilities, but it will take you on a journey. And it's more, unfortunately, a sign of the times movie. It takes all that rhetoric, that social rhetoric that we hear, and it packages it perfectly.
You're saying it won't age well.
It depends. Honestly, depends on what direction our society goes in. If we continue to get worse, it'll age very well. If we pull back a little bit on that, no, it won't. But it uses two things. Even though I find it an incredibly mean-spirited movie, I really do. It's trying to go tongue-in-cheek. It's trying to present itself as, no, this is just a fun tongue-in-cheek movie about, you know, men and women and Barbies. They know they've tapped into that. And you can use humor and that kind of, you know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. If you can do that well, then you can hit far more people than you can just coming out saying, you know, men bad, even though that was the message. They did it with a smile on their face. They did it with pink. They did it with an icon, and they did it with what they think, again, was that tongue-in-cheek mentality. But it failed in that regard for me because, you know, I don't want to say I'm not stupid. I don't mean that people who didn't get that are stupid. I don't mean that.
I think it has to do with their proclivities. I think it has to do with
it. Yes, their proclivities. Thank you. Their proclivities. Yeah. Exactly. And you can't help but see that. But now what are you going to do as a viewer with that information when you're presented to it? Are you just going to say, oh, it was just a fun movie, just knocking men a little bit? Or are you going to say, no, that was, you know, almost 2 hours of men are stupid, men are bad, you know, women have to manipulate men. And I do agree with Mr. Shapiro on one thing. No, it wasn't that men and women had to ignore each other. Is that the women had to manipulate the men into acting like women before they got along with the men. That's the problem I have with this film.
Well, that's what Hollywood has been wanting for a long, long time. So
yes,
the emasculation of the typical male. But as we wrap this up, folks, let me just say, and I know that all of my audience already knows this, but this is so simple. It is the virtue that you should be taught when you're about 4 years old or younger. And our society seems to be still arguing at it at an adult level, which is ridiculous. But if you are viewing people in a certain light and treating them differently simply based on their skin color or their age or their sex, their background, etc., that's dumb and it's wrong, and it will make that person not feel good, and it makes you less of a person. So women, don't think that all men are the same and be nice to men. And men, don't think that all women are the same and be nice to women. Treat everybody kindly. That may not make for a movie that will break box office records. I know it's super simple, but it still remains the truth if you'd like to have the best life possible. Be kind, be good, and uplift others. If you see the best in them, then you can be the best of your own self. All right, Arwen, where can people find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Arwen Avalon, and also on my Twitter, Arwen Avalon. I am usually at one or the other throughout the day. So
there you go. All right. I highly recommend everybody go check out Arwen's content. It's fantastic. And folks, if you like fantastic content such as this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. And when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. The Pro Show is live Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you check it out. Eric July is back again. The Rippaverse team is here with us for this Pro Show. We're going to have a good time as we break down what's going on with the culture war. And folks, if you're not yet a member of this channel, consider doing so. You get all kinds of exclusive content, and it's the price of a soda per month. You'll love it, and we'll love having you as well. Thank you to everyone who's helping us make July be the biggest month ever for this little baby channel that's only 7 months old. We're passing millions and millions and millions of views this month, and so we thank each and every one of you. We are so proud to spend our time with you. Folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.